Have you ever looked at the Maschine Plus audio tracks and thought that they're just there to play loops back and maybe adjust the pitch now and then? It's actually a lot more fun you can have with them. Let's have a look. What we're going to do, we're just going to take a sample here. We've just got this little vibraphone. It's in F, we're at about 90 BPM. And if we go into our plugin instance, just up here, we want to switch this from sampler to audio, so we can just hit on our encoder and hit audio. By default, we've now got this in repitch mode, so if we play it back, we've got this. And I've just set the tempo here to 87, so it's a little bit lower than it would be. Now, if we take it off repitch into stretch, now it's going to keep the original key, and we can tune it up and down if we so desire. So we're up an octave, or we can go down an octave. I like to down tune these quite a lot. And while that's all useful for letting a sample just play out and be repitched and layering samples together, the interesting mode is here. If we tap here where it says loop, we've also got gate. When we switch it to gate, it switches off. And if we go into our clip pattern, we can see here it's now grayed out. Now in gate mode, it only plays when it's pressed. So we go into pad mode. It's just playing through the sample, as if it was a gate opening and closing, right? The interesting thing about that is it then works with keyboard. So if we go into keyboard, and let's just put you onto major to make our lives easier. If we just go up in semitones, and it was in F, so now we're in F. Now we can play different parts of that sample as it plays at different keys. And this becomes infinitely more interesting. So we can leave it on keyboard mode and go back to events, and now we can see the sample as it plays through. So to have that little visualization so you can see the waveform makes it easier to play back and have a little fun with the notes. And you just make sure you've got keyboard pressed and then events pressed to get that up. So we can trigger something out and play a new pattern that we couldn't do before. So let's do shift and record, and we'll have a little countdown, and we'll just try something out. And just like that, we've got a little something going. All right, so now we've repitched the sample, but it's just playing through as it was before. Now, if we just do shift and select, we can just grab those notes, give them a quantize, because the timing wasn't too great. Yeah, we can add to that as well. So we can maybe slide these notes a little bit. So let's maybe go into keyboard, drop it down an octave, why not? Go back to events so we can see our timing. So now we're having some fun just pitching those notes up and down. We can adjust how quick that happens with the fade just here. And we've also got our pitch bend amount to play around with. So we can either have it from 0 or up it quite a bit. Now, not only is that applying across the keyboard, across the sample, we can still do the tune like we did before. So I could still drop it 3 semitones and completely change the key it plays at, or even drop it a whole octave. Now we've got this really moody pitched up sound. I'm just going to add some effects to it real quick to try and get kind of a more of an old vibe. So let's just grab lo-fi. We'll let it go all the way up, but we'll have it bit reduction wise. Let's really dirty it up. That 9's kind of gritty there. Let's have beat delay on there with 2/16, but we'll bring the mix back and bring the feedback back a bit. And let's give that a touch of reverb too. Dial that back a bit, diffusion all the way up. That's a pretty different vibe to what it was initially, right? We just go into the browser. And now we're playing. Yeah, get some drums in with that. and we're well away into making something. It's just, in my opinion, a really interesting way that we can work with samples and loops and mix them up in a completely different way to the classic chop it up and replay it out. It's just a nice little idea, and I've been playing around with it. And because you can do this and it just plays through the loop over and over, you can repitch it and retune it as much as you want. And we could just do another clip and another pattern and do things completely differently and have loads and loads of variations of this particular way of playing it. So that's one of the things I like to do with the audio tracks in Maschine Plus. It's just an extra little way that you can play around and be a bit creative when you've just found a nice sample. Instead of that classic chop it up and sample it over 16 pads, you can do a lot more with this. You can slide the notes, you can then just use effects to make it what you want it to be. Finding it a really creative way to work. I hope you find it useful too. If it was helpful for you, please throw a comment down below and let me know how you're using it that I maybe didn't think of. I'd love to know that. If you want to know a little bit more about my thoughts on Maschine Plus and whether or not it's worth it for you, you can check out this video next. And I do look forward to seeing you in future videos. Take care.